Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Gladys Herrera-Berkowitz, and I'm the Director of Student Engagement Programs. And today we're going to be talking about the Barry Goldwater Scholarship. This is a fantastic opportunity for those of you that are involved in undergraduate research in the STEM fields and are looking to go on to graduate school in that area. So I will get started and give you a little bit of background on this award opportunity and then tell you about all the resources that we have here to support you in this endeavor. Can we go to the first slide? Okay, so I am very pleased to have a great panel with us today who are going to help me in conveying to you how great this opportunity is and the support that we have available. I would like, Ryan Gates is going to join us possibly a little bit late, but he is the 2021 Goldwater Scholar from our campus, and he will give you some insight on his application. We also have with us Veronica Sue from UC Santa Barbara. Veronica, would you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background? Veronica, are you able to unmute yourself? Okay, well, we'll come back to Veronica. The next person on our team is Jennifer Kavetsky, and she is the Writing Center Coordinator and a great partner in this whole endeavor. So Jennifer, would you introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. So as Gladys noted, my name is Jennifer Kavetsky, and I oversee the Undergraduate Writing Center at UCR, which is part of the ARC. And it looks like also there's a poll that Gladys would like you to do, so please fill that out. And I, in addition to supervising the tutors, I also work with applicants for the Goldwater, among other scholarships, to kind of help them craft their essays and really get the most out of those 3,000 characters.
Thank you, Jennifer. And we have Christopher Jones, who is a graduate student here, received the Goldwater in 2020. Christopher, would you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, thanks. So like Gladys mentioned, I'm a PhD student here in the Earth and Planetary Sciences Department, studying marine geochemistry. I did my undergrad at Oklahoma State University, where I also studied geology, and I was a scholar there.
Thank you. And Cheyenne, my favorite Goldwater.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sean Said. I'm the Goldwater Scholar for this year, along with Ryan. My major is Middle Eastern Islamic Studies, but I do a lot of research in biology, specifically chronic wound healing.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so this is part of the team that's going to support you guys because this is, again, an amazing award opportunity, but it's going to take a lot of time for you to invest in applying, and we're going to go through that whole process. Can we go to the next slide, please?
While we're doing that, Veronica's having some trouble with her audio.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I just want to let you know that we have Veronica Sue, who is the Goldwater Scholar from UC Santa Barbara, and right now she's actually doing some research work at MIT, and she's also part of our team, so she's fantastic. So the Goldwater Scholarship, as you can see, this is one of the most prestigious undergraduate scholarships in natural sciences, mathematics, and engineering. And it was established in honor of Senator Barry Goldwater, who served his country for 56 years as a soldier, statesman, and 30 years in the US Senate. And one of the main purpose of this award is a merit-based award for outstanding undergraduate researchers who plan to pursue research in science, math, and engineering. So this is really important. We are looking for students who are pursuing that PhD. So pre-med students, this is really not the right award for you, and we can gear you towards other things. But the goal of this award is to find tomorrow's research leaders. And typically that's going to be the students that are pursuing that PhD. When the Goldwater was first conceived, it started off as a graduate award opportunity. But the more that they thought about it, they came to the conclusion that we needed something that would help prepare students for future opportunities. And for this reason, the Goldwater is open to students who are sophomores and juniors, because we want you to take the time to start thinking about why do you love the research that you're doing? How is it shaping your vision of where you see yourself, the career goals that you have, and so forth? So that's a lot about the essays that we're going to talk about in the future. But again, it's great preparation for any other award opportunity. So I always tell students, take this serious, apply. And regardless of what the outcome is, you will learn so much about yourself. And you will also give people an opportunity to see who you are and what your goals are and your potential. So look at it as a great learning experience. Next slide, please. Okay, so the award. It's a national award, and for the students that are selected, the award is $7,500. And of course, that sounds like a great award, but really the Goldwater is more about the connections that it opens up for you and your ability to start thinking about where you fit in the science field and what you want to do. So that growth piece. But again, the scholarship will be given to you and you can use it to cover your tuition, books, fees, housing. It's your funding. If you apply as a sophomore, you would get this award for 2 years. So it really becomes a $15,000 award. Sometimes it's a little challenging for sophomores because you're just getting your feet wet with research. You may not know as many people who can write letters of recommendation. Don't be intimidated by that. We will work with you. And again, look at it as a learning experience. Even if you don't apply, you will understand all the things that you need for the next year. The other recognition is that because you're applying at a national level, when you're accepted, it puts you at a different level where people say, oh, wow, this person has a lot of potential and they were seen at a national level. And we're really proud of the students at UCR because since 2013, we have had a Goldwater Scholar every single year. And this year we had 2, Ryan and Cheyenne. So again, we're really proud of them. And they're bringing up our number to 14 in total. So I'm competitive, so I want to keep going and I want to see the next set of Goldwaters here. So let's make you guys that group. Next slide, please. Okay, so the Goldwater, as I said, is going to make you think deeply about who you are, where you're going, what you want to do with your career, why do you love science? So here are a couple of quotes from students that reflected upon that Goldwater experience. So I want to take a moment and ask Christopher to tell me about what he felt about this learning experience.
Yeah, so sort of it's just in a way reiterating what you've said. It really was a learning experience about myself, and it was the first time that I'd really been challenged to compile all these different things together. Like I'd applied at OSU for some like department scholarships and things like that before. So like, I'd written, maybe a 1-paragraph essay about myself or about like my research project that I was doing in undergrad with my advisor. But this was the first time I had to bring it all together and look at, what have I been doing with my life so far? And then how am I going to go forward with it? And honestly, it helped with so much. I've applied for so many fellowships and scholarships and things after this, including grad school. And it was always the jumping start or the starting point for me on everything, my personal, like my personal essays and everything. This is where I always start back.
Great, thank you. Cheyenne.
Yeah, as Christopher mentioned, I think the Goldwater, one of the most important things you get out of it is an understanding of who you are, and based on all the things you've done in the past 4 years or so, what direction is that going to lead you in the future? And also allows you to create a narrative about yourself that's that's genuine and that's compelling, and it helps a lot in graduate school applications, as well as many other scholarships that you're going to apply in the future. I think also just putting the name or putting that on your resume helps a lot. I mean, it makes you stand out from the crowd.
Thank you. Veronica.
Hi, everyone. I'm Veronica. Sorry, my internet was choppy earlier. But yeah, I agree with what Chris and Cheyenne were saying. I think it was also like a really reflective process. I think when I first decided that I was going to apply, I wasn't 100% on board. I knew I wanted to do a PhD, but I feel like I was still figuring things out. But honestly, like talking to so many people, talking to my professors, grad students, and everyone who encouraged me to apply also allowed me to kind of reflect on everything that I've done and also think kind of towards the future about like what I'm actually interested in. And yeah, it was a really great experience to learn more about myself, learn more about research careers, and really decide if like research is right for me.
Thank you. Thank you. So again, this is a good process for students to take in. And as Chris mentioned, there's also opportunities for those of you that might be sophomores. Don't get intimidated by this. You know, take it in, think about how this might be a good fit for you either now or in the next year, and start to understand what are the things that you need to build up to. In our office, we have what's called student mini grants. So you can apply for up to $1,000 to help support the research you're involved in. And that's a good way for you to start getting your feet wet on how do I write about my research, because that's one element of the Goldwater. And again, it's a good way to kind of get started. But even if you haven't done that, we're here to help you and get you started. Next slide, please. Okay, so again, I think our panelists have spoken upon this. Goldwater is a learning experience. By the time you're done with the process, you will have enhanced your writing skills, your networking, and your interviewing skills. Part of the Goldwater requires that we interview every candidate because we can only endorse 4 students to move forward. So it's a great preparation for you to, again, write about your research and be able to articulate the importance of your research and why you're doing what you're doing. And it prepares you for your future. As some of our panelists have said, writing these essays are a strong foundation for other award opportunities you're going to have and graduate school. So as you can see, some of our students have gone on to Ivy League schools, have gone on to win other big awards. So this is really your starting point. So I hope that you will take this opportunity and just give it a try, because you'll learn so much from this. Next slide, please. All right, so the candidate profile. You are required to be a full-time sophomore or junior. And if you're a senior, it's going to be here for 5th year, you can be considered for this award. You also need to have a minimum of a 3.0 GPA. If you have a GPA that's a 3.0, we will work with you to see what are some obstacles that maybe you have. Demonstrate that this is not a reflection of your abilities. So don't get dissuaded by that. The average GPA of Goldwater recipients is fairly high, 3.9. But again, this is something you'll learn about, that how important these essays are and how important the letters of recommendation are to support you if you don't have a GPA that's up at that level. You must also be a US citizen, and the most important piece, demonstrate outstanding research potential. So this includes being involved in research in a significant manner, that you have a project you're working on, that you've been doing presentations, and you've gotten a publication, that you're doing an internship. So just demonstrating that you are very well involved in research. And there will be that essay that you need to be able to persuade us to understand that you are looking to pursue that research career that's going to be in one of these STEM fields. The other element is 3 letters of recommendation. These letters have to be very strong. Most of the students who win the Goldwater have letters that are 1.5 to 2 pages, talking about how amazing the students are, what accomplishments they've had in the laboratory. In some cases, bringing in personal elements to that letter, demonstrating that the person who's writing about you really knows you and is attesting to that potential that you have. On our campus, we are only able to submit 4 endorsed students. And if you're a transfer student, that's a 5th student that we can send forward. Next slide, please. Okay, so I think that everybody here on the panel will attest to the fact that you don't win a Goldwater on your own. You have to build a team, and we are the team that's here to help you. In addition to the people that are here, you have your professors. This is an opportunity for you to really connect with your faculty mentors, to let them know that you're interested in this award, and they can help you with that research essay, because you're going to have to put something together that shows that you have an idea and you know how to implement it through the methodologies, and you've thought about what the results could be and so forth. So that's where your faculty member is going to help you. Take advantage of your advisors. I'm here to help guide, strategize your application. Jennifer is outstanding. Once we have a good draft of your application, I then have you work with Jennifer, who helps to refine it. We have Chris, Cheyenne, Veronica, and Ryan, who have gone through the Goldwater process. So they're also here to give you advice. So if you have questions, this is a team that's here to help you. We have a faculty, if you complete your application and you get invited to an interview, we have a faculty committee, and there's faculty members that are very much devoted to helping students. And the interview is an opportunity for them to learn about you and give you final feedback on your application that then you can take back and refine before we select you to be endorsed. There's also Goldwater scholars outside of our university. You can reach out to them. This is a community that really wants to help students, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. Your friends. Applying for this award will take a lot of time and commitment. Take advantage of your friends to have them read your application and give you feedback, or encourage you, because there are going to be times when you're going to feel like, oh my gosh, I've got midterms, I've got a paper I have to write, and I'm doing this Goldwater. How do I find time? You can do it. These panelists can attest to you about how they balance their time and were able to put their application together. We also have faculty members on our campus who are Goldwater recipients. So you can see that Dr. Becker in the physics department, Dr. Harmon and Dr. Larson in chemistry are Goldwater scholars. So if you've had them in class, that's a good way for you to connect with them. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, pre-application. So the first step, if you are interested in pursuing the Goldwater, is to submit a pre-application. And the pre-application will ask you general questions about your research background and who your letter writers are, your GPA, and so forth. I will look at that, and either based on the profile, I can approve you to proceed with the application, or I may schedule an appointment with you to talk more about your background and see if you're the right fit and guide you on who the appropriate letter writers are. So again, this is your first step in the Goldwater process. Next slide, please. Okay, so here's the writing piece. This is really critical because this is your introduction to the people who are going to be reviewing for these applications. You want to make sure that you're able to stand out to them. So this is where our team is going to be here to help you. The first question is, describe your career goals and professional aspirations. And this is a very simple response. Again, one thing that you're going to be challenged on is you see that there are character limits to every one of these essays. That is the hardest piece because you're going to have to say a lot very concisely, and it's going to be tough. So again, this is where this team is here to help you. So in 200 characters, including spaces, tell us what you want to do. So this is where you say, you know, I'm interested in a PhD in molecular biology. I'm going to conduct research in biomedical sciences and teach at a university. So concisely, what are your goals? Where do you see yourself? The next question is, what are your career goals and professional aspirations? I'm actually going to ask our Goldwater scholars to give us their interpretation and how they handled each one of these questions. Can I ask Veronica to answer that first question too?
Yeah, definitely. This is really the question where you're able to show that you are really serious about having a research career, and you've also really carefully thought about how you're going to get there. So a really important way to do that is talk about kind of how your past experiences have shaped your passion and interests and your skill sets that would make you like a successful researcher. And that it shows that you have a passion for pursuing your career in STEM research. So yeah, one big thing is talking about your undergraduate research experiences, and also any clubs you've been involved in, any skills that you've gained from classes, just any way to kind of show leadership, to show research skills, patience, any characteristics of a good scientist. And also you should indicate kind of your long-term plan as well, like your 10 to 15-year plan. One definitely really important thing to do is talk to people within the field so they can tell you kind of what are important characteristics, what are some of your experiences that you can definitely highlight that would be really appealing for like a reviewer to see. And also when you're talking about career goals, it's really important to be like very, very specific, because you need to be able to talk about kind of what projects you want to potentially pursue and what area you want to get into for your PhD program. But remember that like you're not going to be held accountable to pursue those exact disciplines. The main thing is to kind of show the reviewers that you have potential. You can think like a scientist, you can create own projects, You can talk about how you're going to kind of expand or build upon maybe the work that you've already done. And this might sound really intimidating. It's definitely like difficult, but yeah, it really helps to like talk to people, talk to faculty, and also give yourself a lot of time. So start early on the applications. But yeah, this is a really important question. It kind of shapes the rest of your application.
Thank you, Veronica. Cheyenne, can I have you talk about question number 3, which is Goldwater scholars will be representatives of a diverse economic, ethnic, racial, and occupational backgrounds of the families in the U.S. This essay says it's optional. It's not. This is a really critical essay. And for some students, it's kind of difficult to think about, how do I answer this? And I think Cheyenne is a great person to give us a perspective on how he approached it.
Yeah, so this essay was like by far the hardest essay for me to write about, just because, if we have research experience, we could talk about research and we could talk about all the activities we've done, but this essay question takes a lot of introspection almost. And the way I looked at this question was basically it's to show the committee another side of you that is not necessarily research. Because all of us who apply to the Goldwater, we already have a lot of experience in research and we all want to be researchers. And so they want to see what makes you unique and like what unique flavor will you give to the scientific community. And I mean, if you think about it, the Goldwater Committee, and the American government who funds the scholarship is well aware of the diversity of America. And the point of this essay is to look for future researchers who are coming from unique communities and who will be able to bridge gaps between science and their communities. And I mean, part of that, the effect or the result of the lack of that is pretty prevalent nowadays. We see there's a lot of distrust in a lot of minority communities, and it's because there's a lack of connection between science and those communities. And so, of course, if you grew up facing a lot of adversity and in like a rough area, then that's a perfectly good talking point. But for many people who didn't grow up in facing a lot of adversity, it might be difficult to think about what's unique about us. And a lot of us, maybe your family immigrated from somewhere, so you could definitely talk about that. Or if you grew up in a unique area or like a unique community, you can talk about that. Or if you don't have many scientists in your family, which for the most part most people don't, you could also talk about that and talk about how you want to be like basically you're creating your own path, you're doing something that you're passionate about, and you want to be a scientist in a community that doesn't have too many scientists already. And most importantly is you got to connect all of those, all the things that have impacted you in pursuing your career in a STEM field and the unique background that you have. And you're supposed to connect all that to how will you be able to make an impact in that community.
And another thing to think about is, let's say, for example, you grew up in a family background that there are scientists, and maybe your parents push science and you got to go to all the science academies, you have all this benefits. That's perfectly fine too. You can talk about how you use that to give back, to recognizing that, at UC Riverside, a lot of students don't have those advantages. How have you given back in either working as a tutor or maybe working in a club that promotes STEM education or that helps guide students? So again, there's a lot of ways that you can approach it. And you, as Cheyenne said, you have to really reflect on your background and say, how can I answer this? And these are questions that will be asked of you when you're applying to other awards or to graduate school. So this is a good time to start thinking about that. Thank you, Cheyenne.
Also, I could add one more thing. I think it's really important for this question, at least, you talk with family and friends about what makes you unique. Because, for example, I talked a lot with my mom and my sister, and they give me like wonderful ideas, and I was able to like connect or take some of what they said and some of my own ideas and make something that's unique.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, the fourth question, describe an activity or experience that has been important in helping to shape or reinforce your desire to continue a research career. Christopher, can you share with us how you answer that?
Yeah, happy to. So my answer actually sort of combines what you were just saying about question 3, where like So I had a really, really positive life growing up. Like my parents were always supportive of science and all of that. And so my answer to number 4 was about like my first research experience, which was when I went on a research vessel on the ocean to collect samples for my research project. And it was where I like really fell in love with research and just like the lab work and like the thinking process that comes into it. But then I sort of translated that into my work as a tutor, where I noticed that like not everybody had that same narrative that was going on in their lives. And so I was sort of using question 4 to sort of build on my answer to question 3 as well. But overall, I think that the idea for question 4 is tying back into question 2, where you're setting out your goals, right? So question 4 is where you really talk about your narrative. You know, you're starting to explain yourself and why you want to do research and what got you excited for it. And then you're sort of like setting yourself up for, okay, how is this going to lead into the rest of my career? Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Next slide, please. Okay. So when the pandemic hit, Goldwater recognized that students were going to have different experiences at different universities. Some universities completely shut down like we did here on campus, and others stayed the same doing research. So they wanted to provide an opportunity for students to explain what was the environment on their campus. So there is a COVID question that asks, you know, how did this impact you? And Cheyenne, would you mind sharing how you answered that question, because you were part of that group?
Yeah, so I just was pretty frank about it, and I said that, you know, my lab closed for a year, and I couldn't do any of the research that I was intending to do. You know, I had won a few fellowships, a few grants, but I couldn't use any of that money for doing my research. But instead, I talked about the project I was working on online, which was writing a review paper. And if you did something similar, if you were maybe you also worked on a review paper, or you did some sort of meta-analysis, or you helped your professor with anything related to research, maybe you helped her write a paper, or you did anything, you could definitely talk about that.
Thank you. And again, we're here to help you guys think about how you address that topic. I also have to answer a question where I have to explain what happened to the campus and how the grading was impacted if you chose to take a non-graded pass grade. So this is something else that I'll address. Next slide, please. Okay, here's a research essay question. And this is, again, another really important component to the Goldwater. And this is where it will be very important for you to work closely with your faculty mentor on developing your research proposal and making sure that you have the science depth in there. Jennifer and I are here to help guide this, but we don't have expertise in your area. So you can tell us things and we can make it sound good, but we want to make sure that the depth and science is there. Jennifer, can you please speak to this slide?
Sure. So in some ways, this is the easiest. Many students think this is the easiest one because you get just to talk about your research, unlike the other questions where you have to talk about yourself, and Gladys and I ask you a lot of questions. But 3 pages is not a lot of space. It really isn't, especially if that includes your bibliography. So one thing, students obviously want to work very closely with your professor because they have expertise in the field. But one thing Gladys and I can really help you with is identifying kind of places we can shorten or condense or cut out or move around. And while Goldwater is read by people who have a science background, they may not be in your science, right? And so Gladys and I can also kind of give you a sense of, yes, even if it isn't my specialty, I can follow it. Somebody in the specialty is going to be very impressed. But this is definitely something where you end up spending a lot of time on it, partly because you want to use all of those 3 pages.
Right. And again, you have a team here that we can help you. This is where you also want to network. And if you have other faculty members, or maybe the people that are writing your letters of recommendation, they might take a glance at your essay. You want to have as many eyes on all of these writing elements as possible so that we can highlight things that you hadn't thought about. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so the application, you're going to need the 3 letters of recommendation. And I do ask that you notify your letter writer as soon as I approve them. Notify your letter writers and let them know that you will need this letter and that we would like it by the first day of instruction in winter quarter. So that's January 3rd. Transcripts. We need your official transcripts. So you need to use your student portal to request official transcripts. They can be emailed to me, and then I will upload them into the application system. Make sure that the request indicates that those transcripts should be sent to me after your grades have been posted for the fall quarter. If you're not a U.S. citizen, then a permanent resident card, you need to give us a copy of that. I don't believe that they are requiring the letter of intent to become a U.S. citizen anymore, so that's something that's been done away with. Important dates for you. So the application is due on the first Friday of winter quarter, so that's January 7th. And we don't extend beyond that because everything's going to happen really fast from that point forward, okay? Immediately following, we're going to schedule interviews. So the following week, if you submitted an application and you meet our criteria, you will be invited to interview. And we put together a faculty committee of individuals that might be from your department or definitely in your college, and some people that are outside of the college, because that's kind of reflective of the review committee that Goldwater puts together. And the interviews are about 30 to 40 minutes where we ask you really tough questions about what are you proposing? You know, have you thought about this? Or just things to get to know you. And Jennifer and I will have worked with all of our students really closely. And inevitably during this interview, students will say things that they had not told us. And all of a sudden we're like, oh my gosh, you need to add that to your application. So that's really the purpose of it, is to get as much information from you and tell you, you just said this, please add that because that's going to enhance your application. So you'll get some constructive feedback at the end of the interview. Basically within 2 days, we need to determine who are the 4 people that are going to get endorsed. And I'm giving you time to fix your applications, and then I will notify you if you're one of those 4 people. And then I only have a few days to write that endorsement and submit it to Goldwater. Typically, I want to do this ahead of the deadline, which is the last day of the month in January. So that's kind of the timeline there. Next slide, please. Okay. And this is also gives you kind of a timeline of what happens. So we did an information session over the summer. We're doing another one now just to get you started. And this is the time that you need to do that pre-application if you're really serious about following through with the Goldwater, because again, we have a team here that will help you, but we need to know who you are and start reaching out to you. The application actually opened on September 1st. So once you submit that pre-application and I approve you, you will have full access to the application, and you already know what the essay prompts are, so you can even start working on those. Between now and November, which is only 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, you need to be working really hard on those essays and getting everything together. Typically, I will set a deadline in early November to make sure that I know who's really following through. And I also need confirmation that you've asked, that we've spoken about who your letter writers are, and that you've asked them to write a letter on your behalf, because I actually have to send a request through the Goldwater application system to your faculty mentors, asking them for that letter. So we don't want to surprise them. Once that's done, they will have a link and they will submit their letters of recommendation directly to the Goldwater application system. So my deadline to finalize those letters is November 12th. So after November 12th, I will be sending that letter requesting the letters of recommendation from your faculty. By December 2nd, this is my absolute final time to have you confirm your intent to apply. At that point, I may even start getting you to sign up for your interview times. And then this is kind of the last time that you can work with Jennifer, because we're coming towards the end of the quarter and she also gets really busy. So we always ask you to start making appointments ahead of time so that you know that you have time with her to help you revise your application. By the time you leave for your Christmas vacation, you need to have really strong drafts of your application. You're just kind of refining them. You need to have confirmed with your letter writers that they know the deadline to submit your letters of recommendation and have that request in to get the transcript to me as soon as campus reopens. And just use that break over Christmas to refine your applications. Next slide, please. All right, again, we come back in January and it's actually the 7th. The first Friday in winter quarter is when your application is due. That means everything must be submitted. Essays, letters of recommendation, and the transcript. Only students who have that complete package will be interviewed for the endorsement. The second week of the quarter is when we're doing all of the interviews. And by the third week, I will notify you if you're moving forward with endorsement. I will write the endorsement and submit it on your behalf by the last day in January. And then Goldwater will take over on doing the reviews, and they make their announcements on the last Friday of March. Next slide, please. Okay, so we have a team here, people that can help you. So Ryan Gates is our Goldwater recipient for last year. Ryan is one of these rare students who received his Goldwater as a sophomore. So for those of you that are sophomores, this is totally doable. You can ask him questions about it. We have Veronica, who is an alumni from Santa Barbara, but she is very much involved in helping to mentor students. So she can assist with helping you to think about how you're approaching these essays, as well as Chris. Jennifer, again, is my partner in helping you to polish your essays. Cheyenne is also available to assist. Also, set a timeline for yourself. You don't want to reach out to us at the last minute and get us to help you, because all of us are like involved in other deadlines and things that we're doing. So you can't come to us like a week before the deadline and say, hey, can you take a look at all of my essays? So use your time wisely and reach out to us. You have my contact information here. Again, once you submit your pre-application, then I'm more than happy to start working with you in this whole process. Next slide. Here's a QR code. Based on your registration to this workshop, we will also send you a copy of the presentation, and you can also scan this QR code. But again, we're here to help you, and we are excited to have you considering applying for the Goldwater. Are there any questions?
I just want to say, I just tried to check the QR code to make sure it works, and it says that it's been disabled. So maybe there's a break somewhere, or maybe that's just a me problem, but.
Okay, no, thank you for letting me know. Again, all of you who signed up for this workshop will get a copy of this, and we'll look into the QR code, but thank you, Chris. Also, I wanted to share with you, okay, so as I mentioned, we have this Goldwater mentorship program, and I'm going to have Veronica speak a little bit about this, but we have an amazing team that's here to help you. These are students who have won the Goldwater and have a lot of insight. So this is something that we're starting new this year, and I think it'll be very helpful to those of you that are going to apply. Veronica.
Yeah, so we started like a pilot, I guess, program for STEM mentorship, STEM research mentorship I think this past spring at UC Riverside, and I feel like it's been decently successful. But basically what happened is we had a lot of mentors who are very much involved in research, and we also hosted a bunch of workshops. So we're going to try to continue that program this year. And if any of you are interested, I'm going to send out a Google form in the chat in a sec, and we'll also send it out in the emails. but what you can kind of expect is like one-on-one mentorship from some of our mentors who have been Goldwater scholars. Most of these people are like either grad students, recent grads, or seniors at universities. And yeah, it's a great way to learn about, if you're interested in applying for Goldwater, it's a great way to connect with past recipients. But also if you're just generally interested in STEM research, we're going to host workshops on like how to get connected with professors, how to write like research CVs and resumes, what kind of what's grad school like, what's applying for different programs like. So it's a great way to get like one-on-one mentorship for sure. But yeah, I don't know if Gladys has anything else to add.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Veronica. Yeah, so we're really excited to be able to help those of you that are just getting involved in research, or even if you're involved in research and want to know how to get started on applying for awards. Maybe Goldwater seems very intimidating this year and you're going to prepare yourself for next year. This is a great opportunity to meet with these mentors and learn how they got involved and how they optimize opportunities. So I hope that you'll take advantage of it. I'm also going to work with these mentors to help with just kind of giving you some overviews on your essays as you're preparing your Goldwater if you're going to apply this year. So again, I hope that what you take away from this presentation is that building this team that's going to help you is going to be very important. Networking with people. We are here to help, and you guys just need to come to us and ask. And by attending this workshop, that's that first step on getting to know what it is that it's going to be expected of you. Because again, I can't emphasize to you how great the Goldwater is, because it's going to make you think deeply about what you want to do, why you love the work that you're doing, and how you're going to apply it for your future goals. And irregardless of what happens in the outcomes, you will learn so much from the experience that you can apply it for many other award opportunities. On our campus, we have an award called the Chancellor's Research Fellowship that also requires a research proposal. And we've had several of our fellows either use the Goldwater application proposal for the CRF and get it, or sometimes the CRFs have used their proposal to apply for the Goldwater. So again, you start to learn how you can use these essays in multiple ways. So again, I encourage you to really consider this and reach out if you have any questions. And I would also just go ahead.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to add also a huge thing about the process of applying for the Goldwater, as well as if you do receive it, is the network that you gain, right? You talk to like Gladys and Jennifer, everyone who's on your campus supporting you when you're during the application process. And if you do receive it, there's a whole community out there of other scientists, other Goldwater scholars that'll like continue supporting you throughout your research career. And another thing is, if you do join the mentorship program, we're all really involved in research. So like we could be a really cool network for you guys as well.
Thank you. Thank you. So you guys, you have a group here. Are there any questions that you have for our team that we can answer? A shy group? Okay, guys. So you have our contact information. Again, if you want to apply, do the pre-application and we will take it from there. And if there's no questions, I want to thank our panelists for the great information that they provided to you guys. And we hope to see you either through the Goldwater application or any of our upcoming workshops. And again, if you're interested in the mentorship program that Veronica spoke about, the link is in the chat. And we will go from there. Have a great afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Gladys, I had a